The mystery of Azo-Basu. In the year 1931, near Marrakesh, Morocco, an individual with striking similarities to a Neanderthal was discovered. Resembling our ancient ancestors, this individual possessed a sloping forehead, a prominent lower jaw, and robust brow ridges. Living in a cave, he relied on sticks and stones to gather plants and hunt animals, leading a primitive lifestyle. Referred to as Azo-Basu, his discovery garnered global attention. Before being photographed, he had to be clothed as it was reported that he did not wear any on a day-to-day basis. However, once the filming was over, he eagerly discarded the unnecessary items. Azo-Basu, a mysterious individual, resided in the Dades Valley. He made his home in a cave and sustained himself solely on a diet of plants and raw food, lacking the knowledge of harnessing fire. Those who interacted with him reported that his communication skills were quite limited, often resorting to expressing himself through various emotional sounds. Along with his roughly defined facial features, his arms were exceptionally long, reaching his knees, and he possessed flat feet. In the 20th century, scientists conceptualized Neanderthals in this manner, leading to Azo-Basu being regarded as one of our ancient ancestors. Following numerous newspaper articles, the individual gained significant fame, attracting numerous tourists who specifically traveled to Morocco to witness the recently unearthed prehistoric figure. In 1956, Jean Boulet, a writer, and Marcel Gomet, an ethnologist, embarked on a journey to examine the physical characteristics of the discovered individual and draw comparisons to Neanderthal remains. Much to their astonishment, they discovered numerous resemblances between Azo-Basu and the ancient population. This revelation prompted journalists to enthusiastically produce renewed coverage about the individual in newspapers. Azo-Basu would go on to make several appearances in the press. Scientists were unable to fully study the man as he passed away during the research process. According to various news outlets, Azo-Basu passed away when he was 60 years old. However, due to the lack of information surrounding his birthplace and date, it is difficult to ascertain his exact age. In an effort to uncover more about this ancient man, scientists conducted a search in Morocco and eventually discovered two girls named Hissa and Herkaya, who also exhibited peculiar cranial features similar to Azo-Basu. This discovery raises the question of whether Neanderthals truly inhabited Morocco. It is highly unlikely that Neanderthals persisted undiscovered in Morocco for thousands of years, considering the fact that the last known Neanderthals disappeared approximately 40,000 years ago. The demise of Neanderthals is attributed to conflicts with other ancient human populations or succumbing to cold-related diseases. In the event that Neanderthals did manage to survive alongside modern humans, they would have inevitably encountered them over time. Hissa and Herkaya, who were born to modern parents, turned out to have a condition known as microcephaly, characterized by underdeveloped brains and unusually small heads. This condition can be acquired through factors such as radiation exposure, infections, or genetic disorders. Unfortunately, there is currently no known cure for microcephaly, and medical professionals can only alleviate the symptoms of the condition. The mystery of Konrad Haas. It is theorized by certain scholars that Earth may have harbored an advanced civilization in the past. However, due to unknown factors, this civilization was ultimately obliterated. This hypothesis is supported by archaeological discoveries that defy explanation when viewed through the lens of contemporary scientific understanding. Another conjecture proposes that advanced beings may have visited our planet in ancient times, imparting knowledge and advanced technologies to humanity. Consequently, it is possible that these technologies, initially deemed extraordinary, eventually endangered mankind's existence. There is a belief among certain individuals that our predecessors possessed highly advanced technologies that are beyond our comprehension today. Interestingly, it is speculated that some of our modern technologies may have been inspired or influenced by ancient civilizations, despite this knowledge being largely unknown. Concepts such as the existence of ancient flying vehicles are occasionally mentioned in ancient texts. There are claims that our ancestors not only had the ability to traverse outer space, but also possessed a remarkable understanding of the universe that surpasses our current knowledge. In 1963, Romanian engineer Doru Todoriciu conducted an examination of a 450-page manuscript housed in Sibiu's National Archive, formerly known as Hermannstadt. Todoriciu focused on the scientific and technological aspects of the manuscript and categorized it as a comprehensive exploration of artillery and ballistics challenges despite its previous recognition. It was during this examination that Todoriciu discovered the remarkable concepts on rocketry documented by Konrad Haas in the third section of the manuscript. The Sibiu manuscript has garnered significant attention due to its divergence from the existing historical narrative. Limited information is available about Konrad Haas's personal life, but it is known that he was born in Dornbach, near Vienna. Haas served as an artillery guard and commissioned officer at the Imperial Court of Vienna. It is believed that he journeyed to Transylvania alongside the imperial forces in 1551, assuming the role of chief at the Hermannstadt Arsenal's artillery camp. During the years 1529 to 1569, the author wrote the manuscript, which seems to include, among various topics, the earliest elucidation of the fundamental operational principle of the multi-stage rocket. The author discusses the clustering of rockets, the use of stabilizing fins, and the utilization of liquid fuel, while also providing descriptions and illustrations of both two-stage and three-stage rockets. The Sibiu manuscript was composed in the German language and is thought to have been based on even older texts. It provides detailed explanations of the fundamental concepts of rocket science and includes illustrations of three-stage space rockets. Additionally, the manuscript discusses the integration of fireworks with weaponry and even provides instructions on constructing a hang glider. It also outlines the process of creating fuel mixtures for use as liquid rocket propellant. Additionally, there are mentions of moon flights. As per Romanian researchers, the manuscript includes narratives about an individual who successfully reached Earth's satellite by means of an extraordinary aircraft. Furthermore, there are depictions of ancient fuel composed of rare elements. These rocket models were subsequently launched at Cape Kennedy and utilized by astronauts in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo initiatives. It appears that the chronicler had a glimpse into the world of the future. The handwritten manuscript from Sibiu is quite extensive, spanning 450 pages. The authenticity of the Sibiu manuscript is widely acknowledged by experts who refrain from providing immediate commentary on its contents. This case might be dismissed as mere science fiction, but the discovery of other peculiar texts and technologies by Antiquity researchers suggests otherwise. Furthermore, archaeological findings of various artifacts provide concrete evidence that our ancestors possessed a level of civilization far more advanced than what contemporary historians conceive. Manuscripts like Sibiu have the power to revolutionize our understanding of history. It is still unclear whether Haas was able to effectively utilize his designs and transform them into functioning prototypes. However, there are individuals who argue that a rocket was propelled into the sky in Sibiu during the year 1550. It is widely believed that Konrad Haas was the pioneer behind the creation of this initial rocket. Haas himself claimed that he dedicated over 25 years to the development of an innovative air vehicle. The primary obstacle he encountered during this endeavor was the quest to identify a fuel source that would provide the necessary lift for the rocket to ascend. The main focus of the paper revolves around the fuel problem. In addition to the traditional constituents of saltpeter, sulfur, and coal, Haas also incorporated brandy to enhance the thrust generation of the rockets. As per his instructions, a small amount of crushed powder should be mixed with brandy to form a paste-like consistency. This paste should then be applied to the rocket chamber and the ignition hole. Haas also experimented with other fuels, selecting the specific combination based on the intended purpose of the missile. Konrad Haas, despite his involvement in designing weapons, harbored a covert belief in fundamental human principles. This humanistic inclination is prominently evident in his expression. I recommend prioritizing peace over war, letting rifles stay untouched under shelter, preventing bullets from being fired and powder from being soaked, thus preserving the prince's wealth and the master's life. The rocket's technical attributes closely resemble those of contemporary vehicles. Its structure consisted of wooden components that were coated with a unique layer of stone powder designed to safeguard the body from combustion caused by friction with the air. It is worth noting that during the 16th century, scientists lacked comprehensive knowledge about the complexities of atmospheric phenomena, which led some to believe that advanced beings provided them with information. Throughout his early years, he dedicated himself to exploring and studying ancient texts discovered within the present-day borders of Egypt. It was believed that a lunar expedition might have occurred in 1550, however. No concrete proof exists to substantiate these assertions. The late Lady Salah Shabazz expressed her concern about the bias and exclusions often found in textbooks. She noted that in an attempt to condense historical timelines, important facts are frequently overlooked, leaving people unaware of their significance. The city of Sibiu holds significance for those familiar with the field of rocketry and modern astronautics, as it is the birthplace of Hermann Oberth, who is recognized as one of the pioneers in these areas. Moreover, the NASA archives contain a specific document that pertains to the Sibiu manuscript, demonstrating its relevance in this field. The mystery of the vampire of Croglin Grange. Vampires tend to be associated with Central and Eastern Europe, but the tiny Cumbrian village of Croglin has long boasted a homegrown vampire. This picturesque settlement, which lies between the Pennines and the River Eden, was once menaced by a beast that claimed many of the attributes of the classic vampire trope. This burning-eyed creature would stagger from a family crypt in a lonely churchyard, break into manor houses, and plunge its teeth into the necks of young women who would then have the weirdest urges to return to Croglin. The legend of the Croglin vampire recounts a peculiar story where villagers resort to desperate measures, opening up vaults in an attempt to eradicate the creature. The account of the Croglin vampire gained widespread recognition through its inclusion in the autobiography of Augustus Hare, titled Story of My Life. Hare, known as a biographer, travel writer and storyteller, believed that his life's narrative warranted a significant 6-volume publication, released in 2 installments in 1896 and 1900. Like many Victorians, Hare had an affinity for chilling ghost stories, and his books were filled with them. It was during a post-dinner conversation with Captain Fisher Rowe that Hare first heard the extraordinary tale of the Croglin vampire. Despite impressing the gathering with his own eerie stories, Hare was taken aback when Fisher Rowe responded with an even more spine-tingling account. The author, Fisher Rowe, mentioned that his family possessed a spacious residence called Croglin Grange, which had an intriguing legend connected to it. When the Fishers moved to Surrey, they decided to rent out the Grange. However, one of their tenants, a young woman, experienced an unforgettable ordeal. She encountered a vampire residing in a nearby churchyard, which set off a series of extraordinary events. Over time, there have been suggestions that the Croglin vampire story has been embellished by local folklore and enthusiastic writers. Researchers have extensively examined, disproven, and revalidated the legend, only to question it once more. There are allegations of plagiarism and influence from the numerous Gothic horror stories and sensationalized publications that were prevalent during the vampire-crazed Victorian era. Dedicated investigators have spent significant amounts of time exploring the desolate landscapes of Cumbria, interviewing residents, scouring for traces of churches, and meticulously examining historical records and property documents. The story of the Croglin vampire is quite elusive. However, let's begin by providing a summary of the alleged events, primarily based on Augustus Hare's account, along with some additional information from other sources and local folklore in the area. According to Hare's account, Captain Fisher informs him that although Fisher may sound a very plebeian name, his family has a long and ancient lineage. They have owned a unique and intriguing property in Cumberland called Croglin Grange for many centuries. This house's notable feature is its single-story structure, which has never been altered throughout its existence. However, it boasts a terrace that overlooks spacious grounds leading towards the church in the valley, offering a picturesque distant view. Hare explains that when the Fishers became too big for Croglin Grange in terms of both family size and wealth, they made the wise decision not to alter the unique nature of the property by adding an additional floor to the house. Instead, they chose to relocate to Thorncroft near Guildford and leased out Croglin Grange. The Fishers had the good fortune of finding exceptional tenants, 2 brothers and a sister. Although Hare does not provide their names, later sources refer to them as the Cranswell family, with Edward and Michael as the brothers and Amelia as the sister. The exact time frame of their tenancy is not mentioned by Hare, but it is believed that they resided in the house sometime during the 1870s, which coincided with the Fishers' departure. The Cranswell family thoroughly enjoyed their time residing at Croglin Grange and quickly established a positive reputation in the local community. According to Hare, their less fortunate neighbours regarded them as incredibly compassionate and generous, while those of a higher social standing considered them a valuable asset to the close-knit society of the area. The Cranswells experienced a delightful winter and spring at Croglin Grange, fully enjoying the social activities in the area. Despite the Grange lacking a second floor, they found it perfectly suited to their needs. However, the summer brought an extremely hot day that rendered the brothers unable to engage in any active pursuits, forcing them to simply relax under trees and read. Amelia attempted to work on the veranda, but the intense heat made it nearly impossible to focus on her tasks. Once dinner was finished, the brothers and sisters gathered on the porch, taking pleasure in the slightly cooler evening atmosphere. They gazed at the surrounding estate, focusing on the row of trees that marked the boundary between the Grange's property and the nearby churchyard. Observing the sun setting and the moon ascending, they delighted in witnessing the complete transformation of the lawn, which was now bathed in shimmering silver light. As they took in this captivating scene, the shadows cast by the shrubbery appeared striking and defined, as if they were carefully etched into the landscape. The Cranswells retired to bed, but Amelia struggled to sleep due to the heat. Even though her windows were closed, she decided not to fasten the shutters, believing it was unnecessary in the peaceful and safe environment. Since she couldn't fall asleep, she spent the night gazing at the breathtaking beauty of the summer night. However, after a while, she observed a puzzling addition to the moonlit gardens, trees, and lawn. 2 radiant lights flickered near the row of trees by the churchyard. Amelia's attention was captivated by them, unable to look away. Gradually, the lights ceased their erratic movements among the tree trunks and began approaching the house across the lawn. Amelia couldn't help but fixate on these eerie lights, realizing that they were part of a figure that walked awkwardly and moved towards her window. Though the being was occasionally obscured by the tree shadows, the lights remained visible, drawing nearer and nearer. Amelia's heart started racing. She felt a chill running down her spine, and it became clear to her that she needed to escape. Despite the room's door being in close proximity to the window where the creature was approaching, Amelia realized that unlocking it would temporarily bring her closer to the beast. She had the urge to scream, but her throat felt immobilized, and her tongue seemed stuck to the roof of her mouth. The entity then veered off and seemed to clumsily move away from the window where Amelia was standing. Amelia got the impression that it was circling the house and had no intention of approaching her. Overcoming the fear that had rendered her immobile, Amelia quickly jumped out of bed, hurried to the door, and struggled to insert the key into the lock. However, she then heard a disturbing sound of scratching upon the window and caught sight of a repulsive brown face with blazing eyes peering in. In a panic, she retreated to the bed, but the creature persisted in its relentless scratching. Amelia, amidst the panic in her mind, had the awareness that the window was secure, diminishing the likelihood of the creature gaining access. Although the scratching noise ceased, it was soon replaced by a pecking sound. An unsettling realization washed over Amelia. The creature was meticulously removing the lead that held the window firmly in its frame. The persistent pecking continued until the pane succumbed, falling into the room and breaking into scattered diamond-like fragments upon impact with the floor. Then, with an eerie, elongated, bony finger, the creature reached in and effortlessly turned the window handle, causing it to open. The being climbed into the room and confidently walked across Amelia's space. However, her fear was so overwhelming that she couldn't utter a scream. It approached her bed and intertwined its elongated skeletal fingers into her hair, forcefully pulling her head over the edge. And then, with great force, it sank its teeth into her throat. Her scream echoed through the air, prompting her brothers to hurry towards her room. Unable to open the locked door, they frantically searched for a tool to force it open, wasting precious time while the creature continued to harm their sister. Finally, using a fireplace poker, they managed to pry the door open and rushed into the room, only to witness the beast fleeing through the window. Amelia was left unconscious, her neck wounded and bleeding profusely as she lay at the edge of the bed. While one of the brothers pursued the vampire, it swiftly traversed the lawn with remarkable strides and disappeared over the wall of the churchyard. Once Amelia regained consciousness and her initial shock diminished, she expressed her astonishment and evident distress, acknowledging that the situation was highly unusual and confusing. Amelia, known for her resolute nature and lack of belief in romantic notions or superstitions, quickly formulated an explanation for the events of that night. According to her, the most plausible scenario would be that an unstable local had managed to escape from a nearby asylum and had somehow ended up in their vicinity. Amelia's injury has now healed, and it seems that she is gradually recovering from the emotional distress caused by her ordeal. Nevertheless, her doctor strongly advises that, in order to achieve a full recovery, she should seek a change of environment. Consequently, her brothers accompanied her to Switzerland, where they engaged in the typical activities enjoyed by serious Victorian travellers, like mountain climbing, collecting and preserving plants, and sketching. However, as autumn approached, Amelia increasingly expressed her desire to return to Croglin Grange. Amelia's brothers were also missing their life at Croglin, so they agreed to her suggestion, and the three headed back. As Croglin Grange had only one story, it was difficult to make their living arrangements more secure. Amelia occupied her former bedroom, but always closed the shutters at night. As was typical for many old houses, though, the shutters left the top of the window pane uncovered. The brothers now shared a room opposite Amelia's and kept loaded pistols by their bedsides. The Grange provided a peaceful and enjoyable winter for the siblings. However, one spring night, Amelia was awakened by a familiar and ominous sound, a scratching at the window. Looking up, she was confronted by the same withered face she had seen the previous summer, peering down with its fiery eyes. Overwhelmed with fear, Amelia screamed, prompting her brothers to swiftly rise from their beds and rush outside, armed with pistols. The creature hastily darted across the lawn, its awkward stride betraying its injury from a bullet lodged in its leg. Although limping, it managed to evade capture by scrambling over the wall of the nearby churchyard. In the darkness, one of the brothers, in pursuit of the vampire, caught a glimpse of it disappearing into a long-abandoned crypt. The next day, the siblings informed the occupants of Croglin Grange about the incident that occurred the previous night. They gathered a group of men to investigate the underground chamber. Upon breaking open the doors, they were met with the unsettling sight of broken coffins and remains scattered across the floor. Among the wreckage, only one coffin remained relatively intact, with its lid resting loosely on top, detached from the rest of the structure. With cautious anticipation, the siblings lifted the lid, revealing a desiccated, mummified creature bearing a striking resemblance to the one they had pursued. The vampire's leg bore a noticeable wound. The individuals who may have been the brothers were aware of the only method to silence a vampire. They removed the repulsive vampire from the underground chamber with the purpose of setting it on fire. According to local beliefs, they supposedly guided the vampire towards a holly tree in the churchyard, as holly was believed to have a beneficial effect in such a situation. It was there that it was burned, resulting in an end to the Croglin vampire's atrocities. Even today, you can observe the remnants of the holly tree in Croglin churchyard. The mysterious Amamongo. Nestled amidst the lush rainforests and picturesque landscapes of the Philippines, a creature of folklore and intrigue known as the Amamongo has long captured the imaginations of locals and visitors alike. Described as a humanoid monkey or ape-like creature, the Amamongo is said to roam the remote and uncharted regions of the archipelago, leaving a trail of fascination and fear in its wake. The Amamongo, also known as the Capre and Agta, is deeply entrenched in Philippine folklore and mythology. The creature's origins can be traced back to pre-colonial times, when traditions and storytelling were the primary means of passing down cultural knowledge. Tales of the Amamongo have been passed from generation to generation, gaining momentum and complexity over the centuries. The Amamongo is typically described as a towering, hairy, ape-like creature, often standing over 7 feet tall. Its large red eyes are said to glow in the darkness, adding to its eerie and menacing appearance. The creature is believed to possess immense strength and agility, enabling it to traverse the dense forests and rugged terrains with ease. Numerous eyewitness accounts of encounters with the Amamongo have emerged from various regions of the Philippines, particularly in the provinces of Capiz, Antique, and Iloilo. Local residents and farmers have claimed to catch glimpses of the creature amid the dense foliage or while tending to their crops late at night. These sightings have sparked curiosity and fear among the communities, fueling the enduring belief in the existence of the Amamongo. The Amamongo holds a significant place in Philippine culture, as it embodies the country's rich tradition of storytelling and belief in supernatural entities. Many Filipinos have grown up hearing stories of the Amamongo from their grandparents or elders, instilling a sense of wonder and caution about the mysterious world that lies beyond human comprehension. The origins of the Amamongo legend can be linked to various cultural and historical influences. Some researchers suggest that the tales of the Amamongo could have emerged as a way to explain unexplained phenomena in the dense forests, such as strange noises or mysterious disappearances. Additionally, the legends may have been influenced by the encounters with large primates or other indigenous creatures that were unfamiliar to the local communities. The concept of humanoid ape-like creatures exists in many cultures around the world. While the specific physical descriptions and characteristics vary, the underlying theme of these creatures being elusive, mysterious, and supernatural in nature is consistent. The parallels between the Amamongo and other cryptids provide a fascinating insight into the shared human fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. As modernization and urbanization sweep through the Philippines, the stories of the Amamongo face challenges in retaining their traditional significance. Some researchers argue that the spread of scientific knowledge and skepticism has led to a decline in belief in such cryptids. However, the Amamongo remains a cultural symbol that continues to be celebrated in festivals, literature, and local art. It's difficult to give an exact number of caves in the Grand Canyon, as new caves are still being discovered and the number is constantly changing. However, it's estimated that there are over 1,000 known caves within the Grand Canyon National Park boundaries. These caves vary in size and shape, and many of them are not accessible to the public due to safety concerns or to protect the delicate cave ecosystems. Various interesting discoveries are said to have been made at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It's due to the vast, largely unexplored caves. There's been whispers that the area is holding many secrets, with one of the lesser-known ones being that the area may have once been the home of an underground ancient civilization, with those who explored the area saying that artifacts were found and that they belonged to the ancient Egyptians. This interesting story starts in 1909 when an explorer by the name of G.E. Kincaid found a variety of strange artifacts while exploring the Grand Canyon. He was sent there by the Smithsonian Institution, saying that he was told to explore the large caverns that were covered by a large entrance that was almost inaccessible. The team was led by Smithsonian anthropologist S.A. Jordan, but it was Kincaid who had allegedly made the discovery. The team reported that once inside, they found that the caves were in the shape of a wheel, saying that once they made their way inside the caverns, they found various artifacts, including copper artifacts and statues. The team also reported that the area was so big that it could have been inhabited by up to 50,000 people, noting that it was easily big enough to hold an ancient civilization. Although people living underground sounds like something from a movie, Derinkuyu is an underground city that was inhabited by people during the 8th to 7th century BC. Officials said the following about the discovery. Once the team started to look closely at the artifact, they noticed that they didn't match anything in their records and didn't match anything that had been found in the region, most notably those of the Native Americans. These artifacts more closely resembled those that were coming out of Egypt. The big question was, how did these ancient artifacts end up in a deep cavern within the Grand Canyon? And was there an ancient Egyptian civilization that had somehow made their way here? End quote. The Smithsonian later came forward and said that the team that had been sent down into the Grand Canyon didn't find anything, and that they have no proof that anything had been found. The only reply that the Smithsonian has given about the story is saying that they didn't find anything. As of right now, skeptics have said there is no credible evidence to suggest that there is an underground Egyptian city beneath the Grand Canyon. This is a common theory that has been circulating for decades, but there is no factual basis to support it. The mysterious photograph captured inside the Grand Caverns. There's been a number of interesting photographs that have been captured in national parks. One of these was taken in the Grand Caverns in 1895 by Orrin Jeffries. There's a limited amount of information on this photograph, but the story goes that amateur photographer Orrin Jeffries was exploring an unmapped section of Grand Cavern, something that few people have done due to stories of disappearances and encountering mysterious creatures. The caverns he was exploring were located in southwestern Virginia, and in recent years there's been a variety of theories that have been put forward that suggest the caverns aren't just caverns, but could be home to underground networks. In fact, this has been backed up in recent years by hikers who have said that they discovered underground networks while exploring the area. Orrin Jeffries made his way into one of the caverns, and due to not being able to see anything, decided to conduct a photographic experiment where he would point his camera out into the darkness and take a long exposure shot. For those unaware, a long exposure technique takes advantage of slow shutter speeds, which in turn allows the user to capture the motion of a moving element or more light from a night scene. During one of these sessions, he heard something moving deep in the cave, and due to him being alone and worried, he decided to set off one of the flashes in order to see what it was. After he left the cavern, he developed the photograph and could see that he had captured what appeared to be 3 humanoid-like creatures. He then approached the local newspaper and told them that 3 humanoids could be seen looking in his direction, and that after the photograph was taken, he ran out of the cavern as fast as he could. Interestingly, when researchers later enhanced the photo, they detailed that they could see one of the creatures raising its arm, with some suggesting that the humanoid may have had something in its hand like a rock, and that had Orrin stayed just a few more moments, he may have been attacked by the creature. The mysterious disappearance of Adam Clayton Lyle Jones at the Grand Canyon. Though the investigative services branch of the law enforcement generally try to solve cases as efficiently and quickly as possible, this sadly is not always the case, and most often than not, cases tend to grow cold for months or years afterwards. These cases are not closed and remain open and may become active should new evidence surface. Kathy Cupper, one of the spokespeople for the investigative services branch, said the following: "It's always there on the table. Sometimes a tip will come in, or someone will hear something, and it will go active again." End quote. Adam Clayton Lyle Jones is one of the unfortunate missing individuals whose case has grown cold. Jones went missing on the 31st of March back in 2011 and has not yet been found. The man, who was only 23 at the time of his disappearance and would now be 33 years old, was last said to have been last seen by his family in the Gulf Breeze in Florida. His family claim he left home early in the afternoon in a blue Oldsmobile Delta 88, and that the only personal possession he took with him was his laptop, no other notable belongings. Little did Jones's family realize that would be the last time they would ever get to see him again. It took until the 5th of May 2011 for a park ranger to acknowledge the abandoned Delta 88 car parked at the South Rim center of the Grand Canyon National Park. At the time, Jones had not yet been reported as a missing person and therefore not initially considered as a victim. The park ranger managed to contact Jones's parents about the abandoned car, who then proceeded to file the missing persons report to the police. Contents found within the car included an itinerary of various routes of California cities and places in Denver, Colorado. Surprisingly, there was not a mobile phone in the car, as Jones did not have his phone on him when he went missing. To this day, investigators have no idea whether he was lost or injured in the wilderness, or if something else, far more morbid, might have happened. Furthermore, there is no actual evidence that he even entered the Grand Canyon Park, no photographic or witness proof that he was there, apart from the car parked in the car park. With so little to go off, investigators have had a difficult time finding any clues to Adam Jones' whereabouts. Trail cameras, also known as game cameras, are outdoor surveillance cameras designed to capture photos or videos of wildlife or other outdoor activities. They are typically used by hunters, wildlife enthusiasts, and researchers to monitor wildlife populations, track animal behavior, and study the habits of various animals. Trail cameras are equipped with a memory card to store the photos and videos they capture. The memory cards can be removed and replaced to view or transfer the images to a computer or other device. They are an excellent tool for studying wildlife and gaining insights into their behavior and habitat. Every so often, though, a trail camera captures something mysterious. This happened just recently when a trail camera captured a strange-looking creature standing next to a bear. We talked with the individual who posted the photograph who wishes to stay anonymous, and they said that the image was taken in northern Utah. They explained that they couldn't figure out what the creature was, and so posted it to various pages in order to try and get an answer. All this did was cause more confusion, as people couldn't work out what it was. One user said the following: "Many trail camera photographs are hard to study, as the object in question can sometimes be at a weird angle, and this makes it hard to work out the size of the creature. However, in this image we can clearly see that it's standing next to a bear and that it measures over twice the size of it. It's really hard to figure out what type of creature this could be." End quote. Others carried on and said that due to its size and shape, it matches the overall description of a large, hairy humanoid, also pointing out that Utah has been a hotspot for these creatures, with hikers and outdoorsmen who've ventured out into the wilderness in and around Utah, saying that they've had several run-ins with these creatures. The user who posted the photograph said that they were part of a team that investigated Bigfoot sightings, and that throughout the years, the team got sent various images and videos of mysterious creatures, but noted that the majority of them could be explained. They said that this was one of the only ones that they struggled to explain. They further added that they were nervous to post the photograph as they didn't want to be ridiculed or have people think they were trying to prove the existence of Bigfoot. The poster said they just generally have no idea what this is and wanted to see if other people could explain it. Interestingly, for hundreds of years, mysterious humanoid creatures have been encountered across the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia. One interesting story is that of the original Murfreesboro mud monster sighting. Considered to be one of the most peculiar sightings ever reported, the Murfreesboro mud monster was a humanoid creature that was mass-sighted and would eventually lead the police of the small town of Murfreesboro to conduct an official investigation into the beast to bring about some order to their small town. On the 25th of June, back in 1973, within the small town of Murfreesboro, Illinois, a young couple would claim to come face-to-face with a massive bipedal humanoid creature, later referred to as the Murfreesboro mud monster. According to the young couple, their encounter happened sometime around midnight while they had been parked at the side of a river. The couple, a young man and young woman by the names of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson, claimed that they decided to stop their car at the end of 23rd Street, located in Riverside Park, in an area that gave them a clear view of the surface of the big muddy river. The reason for their late-night isolation was later explained by the couple as being a necessary precaution, as Judy's father had disapproved of the two dating, and so were unable to find a more public location to hang out. Although the exact time of the sighting is unknown, it's believed that the event occurred sometime between 12 to 1 in the morning, as the couple were listening to the radio and engaged in intimate action. As Judy Johnson and Randy Needham were in the middle of their interaction, the couple claimed to have heard what they described as a piercing roar, later detailed by Randy Needham as sounding somewhat similar to an eagle shrieking into a feedback microphone. The source of the sound appeared to have emanated from a nearby brush that rested only a few yards away from the vehicle near the side of the big muddy river. Scared that a large, dangerous wild animal was nearby, Randy Needham shut off the car radio while he and Judy Johnson glanced around the immediate area, looking for any signs of a creature. A few seconds later, the couple claimed that another loud shriek had been heard that was slightly similar to the first, and watched as the brushwood in front of their vehicle began to sway dramatically. Hoping to scare away the creature, or to catch a better glimpse of it, Randy Needham immediately started his car and turned on the headlights. Within seconds, the creature exited from the brushwood and began rushing towards their vehicle. The couple would later describe the creature as having been a large bipedal ape-like creature that they would claim looked like an oversized gorilla. It walked on two legs and was estimated from a sitting position to have stood around 8 feet tall, with matted white hair and with spots of mud covering different sections of its body. As the creature walked closer to the vehicle, the couple claimed they could smell the scent of a foul, skunk-like odor. Fearing for their lives, Randy Needham immediately reversed his vehicle and drove out of the area, claiming that they narrowly escaped the monster. Once the couple made it back into the downtown area of Murfreesboro, Illinois, they entered into a heated debate on whether or not they should report the sighting to the local police. Judy Johnson at first refused to file a witness report, believing that it would lead to issues with her father, but was convinced by Randy Needham, who believed that the monster would soon attack other eyewitnesses. It would be at around 2 a.m. that the couple would decide to drive down to the Murfreesboro police station and report their sighting. Once Randy Needham and Judy Johnson arrived at the police station together, the couple immediately began filing a report with the former patrolman of the Murfreesboro police force, a man by the name of Ron Manwaring, who worked as a police chief for over several decades. According to Officer Ron Manwaring, the sighting had been described as an unknown creature sighting, with the beast having been compared to an oversized gorilla estimated to have been around 8 feet tall, with matted white hair that was streaked with mud. Although the officers were hesitant to believe the claims of the 2 young adults, they began to grow increasingly interested when they discovered that the couple was scared of both public ridicule and Judy's father finding out about their indiscretions. Additional reports of the Murfreesboro mud monster would be made by several police officers who were tasked with investigating the original sightings report of Randy Needham and Judy Johnson. Believing that Randy Needham and Judy Johnson were not playing a prank and had nothing to gain from the witness claims, the Murfreesboro Police Department would send 2 officers to investigate the claims further. The 2 responding officers, Merrill Lindsay and Jimmy Nash, were sent to the location of the sighting within minutes and arrived at the area of the supposed boat ramp in Riverside Park. Within a few minutes of investigating, Officer Jimmy Nash found a set of peculiar tracks that he described as being approximately 10 to 12 inches long and roughly 3 inches wide, following in a long line down the riverbank side pressed deep into the mud. However, before Officer Nash could investigate the tracks further, he would then report that he and his partner heard what they would later detail was a horrifyingly shrill screech emanating from close by. Believing that the creature was hiding in some nearby brush, waiting to attack, Officer Nash attempted to pull out his revolver, but dropped it in a panic and ran back to his police cruiser and left the scene of the sighting. When questioned about the sound, Nash claimed that the sound was the most hideous sound he had ever heard and had originated at an estimated distance of about 300 feet away from them. He said the following: "The most incredible shriek I've ever heard. It was in those bushes. It was no bobcat or screech owl. We hightailed it out of there." End quote. Officer Jimmy Nash and Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to the Murfreesboro police station, hoping to gather additional officers for backup before returning to the site. It would be at around this time that the officers would report the screech and their encounter with the unknown creature, sparking serious interest from the local law enforcement. At around 2 a.m. on the 26th of June, Officers Jimmy Nash and Merrill Lindsay would return to the area of their encounter alongside Officer Bob Scott and the original eyewitness Randy Needham. The 4 would soon discover several more tracks located near the muddy banks of the river, with impressions that appeared to originate from within the water and exit back into the water. Officer Merrill Lindsay would return to her patrol car to retrieve a camera for documenting the evidence, and the 3 others would stay in the area of the sighting, following the tracks down the riverbank. It was at around this time that the 3 men claimed to hear splashing in the river that sounded like a large creature walking in knee-deep water. Although they were unable to see anything in the water, the men would continue their search until they heard the same horrible scream that Officer Nash had reported earlier in the morning. The sudden scream caused the 3 men to run back to a patrol car, where they took the time to regain their composure and once again begin their search for the creature. For the next several hours, the men would claim to hear the same eerie splashing sound they believed to have been the large bipedal creature walking through the water, but would discover nothing. Their search would continue through the early morning until the sun rose. At around 7 a.m, the group would end their search, believing that the monster had disappeared. On the 26th of June, roughly 14 hours since the end of the reported sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster from the Murfreesboro Police Department, a 5-year-old boy by the name of Christian Barrell would claim to witness a monster with a similar description at around 10:30 in the evening. The story was so compelling and considered substantial evidence of a Sasquatch-like creature roaming the American countryside that the story would eventually be picked up by the New York Times. The sudden popularity in the town, coupled with the momentary fame of the eyewitnesses, would lead to the Murfreesboro Mud Monster legends becoming a solidified piece of history for the town, and would lead to the end of the hunting parties for the creature, as the residents considered the monster to be a symbolic mascot to be adored. This interesting photograph was just published to social media, but those who've seen it can't seem to agree on what it shows. The black object sticks out against the clouds and can be seen hovering close to the ground. Some users speculated that it was some sort of atmospheric phenomena, while others who allegedly saw the object said that it suddenly manifested in the sky. The reason it caught people's attention was because of how it was moving, with it reminding some of a symbiote. Most of the residents who saw the object agreed that it wasn't something like a cloud or balloon, and went on to detail that it appeared to be shape-shifting. Interestingly, these types of sightings have been given a name, and they go by atmospheric jellyfish. Individuals who have seen them have said they're unlike anything they've seen before, and that they look like giant jellyfish hovering around in the sky. This unexplained phenomena has been cited by hundreds of people across the globe, including top meteorological scientists, military bases, and cities. These strange lights or objects have confused many people, which is why many have called them mysterious flying objects. According to NASA, these objects may be the result of space debris reflecting off of the northern lights, but it's important to note that they've been observed in various countries and at different altitudes. One user said the following: "It's an atmospheric thing. I see this a lot when there's thunderstorms around. Under the right temperature and airflow conditions, you can see these strange objects form." End quote. While this user said the following: "I saw something similar to this in Texas last year while I was driving. I wasn't able to pull over and take pictures, but I remember thinking that the object looked like a jellyfish, as it appeared to have tentacle-like appendages." End quote. Interestingly, a similar incident was reported across various areas in London, with residents saying that the police turned up soon afterwards and told people to move out of the area. Many people aren't aware of this, but police have investigated mysterious aircrafts in the past. In fact, there have been several documented cases of law enforcement officers encountering strange objects and glowing lights while on duty and reporting them to their superiors. One well-known case occurred in 1966 in Portage County, Ohio, where several police officers witnessed a series of strange lights in the sky and admitted to chasing the object for over 30 minutes. Another notable case occurred in 1973 in Mansfield, Ohio, where two police officers reported seeing a strange aircraft hovering over a nearby field. In addition, there have been numerous cases where civilian witnesses have called the police to report sightings of mysterious objects, and officers have responded to investigate. While the police are not typically equipped to conduct in-depth investigations into these types of sightings, they may collect eyewitness testimony, take photographs or videos, and file reports with appropriate agencies such as the FAA or local research organizations. There's certainly no shortage of mysterious encounters with unknown objects. The Tangmere sighting. On the 1st of June back in 1950, a landing Royal Air Force pilot, piloting a Gloster Meteor, one of the fastest jets in the world at the time, claimed to have sighted and passed by an unidentified object that was believed to have been hovering over the Tangmere Royal Air Force Base. As the pilot was preparing his descent towards the base, he claimed that he witnessed the body of the craft shining with a bright light that surrounded its chassis, with the body of the craft rotating in a circle as it passed by his aircraft. Using his altimeter, the pilot estimated that the object must have been traveling somewhere around 20,000 feet, flying in the direction of east from the Portsmouth area. The report was later confirmed after the Royal Air Force Base Tangmere inquired to the Royal Air Force Base Wartling, found in Sussex, if they had also picked up the object on their radar equipment. According to the Wartling radar station, they claimed to have watched the craft on its PPI screen at around the same time the pilot claimed to have seen the craft, between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon. Although a series of reports surrounding unidentified objects predated this witness account, The Tangmere sighting is often described as Britain's first flying saucer incident. Shortly following the details and confirmation of the military report, the British government would establish the Flying Saucer Working Party, the British Ministry of Defence's first official investigation into the flying saucer phenomenon. No further information surrounding the report would come forward. The William Schaffner interception. One of the strangest, mysterious aircraft incidents in history, an encounter that would result in the passing of a Royal Air Force pilot, would be reported on the 8th of September, back in 1970, and lead to serious investigations made by the British Ministry of Defence following the impossible-to-explain event. According to the military reports, the Royal Air Force pilot, known as William Schaffner, was tasked with intercepting a peculiar aircraft that had first been spotted on radar by 3 different independent radar detection stations, including the Royal Air Force Base, Fylingdale's Early Radar Warning Station, the United States Air Force Thule Air Base Radar Station, located in Greenland, and the Colorado Springs Radar Base at the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, USA. Fearing that the object was some form of unknown advanced aircraft, William Schaffner was given the order to intercept the object over the North Sea and engage in a firefight if necessary. Unfortunately for the Royal Air Force pilot, that would be the last time that William Schaffner would ever be seen. Radar detected his plane dropping from its height, and shortly thereafter, William Schaffner was unresponsive. Roughly 4 months later, the aircraft of William Schaffner would be recovered from the seabed. Oddly enough, the entire plane was relatively untouched, with the main body of the plane staying enclosed underwater. When investigators looked inside the craft to better understand what could have happened to the pilot, they quickly noticed that William was nowhere to be found within the completely enclosed aircraft. Various parts of America are said to be home to mysterious creatures, and one such area is that of North America. Back in 2014, a trail camera was placed in Mossy Rock in Lewis County, and it captured a mysterious creature. The unknown bipedal humanoid was soon given the name of the creature of Mossy Rock. A man had placed a trail camera on his property, which was said to be located out in the middle of the woods. There had been some strange sightings in the area, with the man coming forward and saying that strange noises could be heard late at night, and so he decided to set up one of these cameras in order to catch the culprit. The man who posted the image said the following: "The backstory of this image is that it was captured on a trail camera, and the guy who showed me it had been down at his friend's house in Mossy Rock. The property is out in the backwoods, and it's surrounded by nothing but deep woods. Around the same time that this picture was taken, they heard a screaming noise coming from just behind the house, which they said didn't belong to a cougar, coyote, or bear. They wanted to figure out what was causing these noises, and so set up motion-sensitive trail cameras to capture it. When checking the footage the next morning, this is what they found. It's an amazing photo, and it makes every other image I've seen look laughable in comparison. I get really annoyed when people try to argue its authenticity. These guys didn't even know how to send the picture from their computer to their phone. They don't know what Photoshop is. If this photograph is genuine, then it's easily one of the best images we have of this creature, and proves there's large bipedal humanoids roaming around in dense regions of America." One user said the following: "I've visited this area, and there's definitely something going on in these woods. I'm glad that I was with my son at the time, because otherwise no one would have believed my story." On the second night of our trip, we began to hear noises around our camp. This happened at night, so we attributed this to wildlife. However, what we couldn't explain was the loud screams that echoed through the woods. I've spent the majority of my life outdoors, but I had never heard such a noise before. It didn't match typical wildlife that you find in the area. Fast forward to the next day, me and my son decided to look around the camp in order to see if we could work out what was making those noises. All around us were huge footprints that were double the size of my boots. After making this discovery, we immediately packed up and left the area. It's an experience that I'll never forget, and when I hear these stories, I'm now a little more open-minded. Interestingly, this isn't the first time that hikers and residents within Washington have reported seeing such a creature. In fact, these sightings have become somewhat of a regular occurrence that investigators have now labeled Washington as a hotspot, and it's led hikers and investigators to go out into these areas in the hopes of finding evidence. What these creatures are, though, depends on who you ask, with scientists and anthropologists saying that you're not going to find such a creature, with them detailing that if such a creature did exist, and it was related to some great ape species or even a Neanderthal, then we would see evidence of things like bones in forests, saying that you would need a substantial number of these creatures to keep them going, and that as of right now, the evidence points towards them not being genuine. Researchers who have looked into this topic have said that this is actually helping them, and that they've said that we have to start with the process of elimination. Some of these investigators who have spent a large amount of time in these areas have said there's definitely been some interesting correlations that they've picked up on, one being that sometimes when these creatures are seen, strange lights have also been seen in the nearby area. What many people find interesting with these reports is that they aren't anything new. In fact, they can be traced back hundreds of years. Robert Robinson has said that one of the oldest known sightings of a creature fitting the description of the skunk ape took place in the early 1800s, with reports of other large humanoid creatures going back even further. The first reported sightings were by Native Americans, and since then, it's been suggested that there's different kinds. According to the reports, a group of sailors landed north of the Gulf of Mexico. As they had pulled into the bay, they claimed to have spotted a creature covered in hair from head to toe and appeared similar to a 5-foot-tall baboon. The encounter was recorded back in 1818, but sightings of baboons the size of men would continue to be reported throughout the area until the mid-1800s. The descriptions of the creature's odor are often conflicting, with many eyewitness reports claiming that the smell is impossible to compare to any other known smell. Some witnesses have claimed that the smell of the creature was similar to a swampy fish smell, with a mixture of rotten fish and eggs. An even smaller number of witnesses have claimed that the creature gives off a somewhat chemical smell, comparing it to hydrogen sulfide, methane, or swamp gas. While some testimonies have said that the creature suffers from an odor that is more akin to a wet dog. More commonly, however, the odor of the creature is reportedly exactly similar to that of a skunk, which is where the creature derives its name. The physical descriptions of the creature are far more consistent, with claims that the skunk ape is humanoid in shape, but without a defined neck, leaving its head resting flat on its shoulders. The creature has a human-like face. Fur covering its body except for its face and palms, has well-defined muscles despite the covering of the fur, and appears to have a hump on its back that may or may not extend beyond the top of the creature's head. Researchers have often quoted that two prominent early Native American tribes that had once resided around the modern-day areas of Florida and Louisiana feature reported encounters with the creature within their local mythologies that directly match with descriptions commonly associated with the skunk ape creature. This claim, however, is only partly true. One of the local Native American tribes features stories of a swamp-like creature referred to as the Shawanoki. Some researchers have incorrectly translated this to mean a mysterious swamp-dwelling creature, and so have made the connection that the creature must be referred to the skunk ape, of which is commonly reported in areas of swamps. The truth, however, is that Shawanoki directly translates to snapping mouth, and was more commonly used to refer to hidden alligators or snapping turtles local to the area. An additional note to make is that the coincidence of Shawanoki referring to the swamp and the skunk ape often being reported in or around a swamp is hardly a coincidence at all. Many of the areas throughout Louisiana and Florida feature swamps as their only form of wilderness, as it is nearly impossible to pave or develop any form of modern construction within swamp grounds. The other prominent Native American tribe does indeed feature a story that directly matches with reports and encounters with the skunk ape. Referred to by the tribe as the Esti Kapkaki, of which directly translates to the tall man, the creature is a reportedly humanoid being that is often regarded as the protector of the surrounding woods and swamplands. If one was to find themselves chasing the creature, before long, they would witness the animal vanish from sight, as if disappearing in the fog. Other titles for the creature were known as the Sand People, the Mangrove People, or the People Eaters. In the early morning, sometime around 6 a.m, 2 witnesses were driving into the town of Gainesville, located within Florida, when they reported one of the first documented encounters with the skunk ape. According to the 2 eyewitnesses, a young mother was traveling with her son. As they were traveling down Route 441, passing a 4-lane highway with an open grassy area that separates the lanes, a tall, humanoid creature, covered from head to toe in thick matted fur, was standing between the lanes, strolling across the grassy fields. The sighting, which occurred in the summer of 2000, allowed the witnesses to see the creature in bright daylight, despite it being only 6 in the morning. However, they reported that it did not register what they had just seen, and it wasn't until they drove closer that they realized what they were looking at. According to the mother, the two had just passed by the Painesville Prairie Preserve, a state park of more than 21,000 acres that consisted mostly of flat swamplands and unending miles of wet prairies and overgrown marshlands. Believing the humanoid figure to have been a possible illegal hunter dressed up in matching camouflage, and due to the fact that no other cars were on the highway, the mother then slowed almost to a halt to get a better look at the humanoid creature. The witnesses then claimed that the creature, described as a large beast covered with brown hair, turned to face the two of them and began travelling towards their lane. Unsure of what to do, the driver stayed parked on the highway lane and waited for the creature to cross into the surrounding swampy nature preserve, watching its movements as it continued to pass them. At first, the witnesses claimed that they thought the creature could have been a normal but rather tall man, dressed in animal skins and furs that wrapped around him like a sweater, but as it walked towards them, they realized that the creature was not human and appeared more like a humanoid ape-like creature. Over the course of a few seconds, the humanoid ape-like creature crossed the highway lanes and walked over the surrounding bank, disappearing into the nearby state park. During her report, the woman would claim that the creature had to have stood somewhere between 7.5 to 8 feet in height, though it was impossible to accurately judge given the fact that she and her son were sitting in the car. Additionally, despite the fact that the ape-like creature was covered in fur from head to toe, the driver claimed that clear outlines of thick muscle could be seen that appeared to be very human except for its large, thick feet that appeared to be more like padding. The young boy would claim that it appeared that the creature ran quickly with a hunched-over posture and looked like a human monkey or a caveman, and said that it crossed the 4 lanes within a few seconds. Another sighting of the creature was made in Brevard County, Florida. On the 15th of September back in 1989, a brother and sister would witness an 8-foot-tall humanoid creature that would reignite the legends of the skunk ape in the region. According to the 2 eyewitnesses, they had been driving from Florida to Kissimmee late in the night, sometime around 11 in the evening. As the two were driving along Nova Road, located within Brevard County, the brother needed a temporary break to relieve himself after several hours of driving, and so pulled over to the side of the road for roughly 30 seconds. As he was standing outside the car, the sister began shouting that someone was coming and that the brother should finish before they got in trouble. Glancing around, the brother then noticed what he described as a 7 or 8 foot tall, dark humanoid creature running towards him, exiting from an area in the surrounding woods where snapped branches and debris could be seen. At first, the brother was unsure of who the person was and worried that perhaps the person running towards them needed help. Due to Nova Road being a desolate 30-mile stretch of road that cuts through thousands of acres of untouched swamp and wetlands, the brother was certain that there should be no one in the wilderness unless they were in danger and needed help. Upon closer examination of the fast-approaching creature, it became clear to the brother that the tall humanoid was something completely inhuman, covered entirely in hair and striding along the ground as if the creature was preparing to quietly attack. Fearing for his life, the brother ran back to the car and began pulling away as fast as possible. After driving several miles, the brother began to slow the car down once more for another break when he noticed the creature following them on the road, now lit up in a red glowing tint due to the car's brake lights. Without any further hesitation, the brother slammed on the pedal and left the creature behind, watching as it jumped back into the nearby swampland. A few months ago, it was reported that sheep across the world were observed walking around in circles, and people have now said that the phenomenon has just started up again. Due to this strange behavior, it's caused some to suggest that animals may be sensing something. Interestingly, some animals have been observed to have the ability to detect earthquakes before they occur. This is believed to be due to their heightened sensitivity to changes in their environment, such as vibrations or electromagnetic fields. One animal that is known for its ability to detect earthquakes is the common toad. Researchers have found that toads will often leave their breeding sites and move to higher ground several days before an earthquake occurs. Similarly, other studies have shown that certain species of fish, snakes, and even domesticated dogs and cats have exhibited unusual behavior prior to an earthquake. Scientists have said that not all animals have this ability, and more research is needed to fully understand the mechanisms behind this phenomenon. The United States Geological Survey said the following about this phenomenon. Evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. However, consistent and reliable behavior prior to seismic events and a mechanism explaining how it could work still eludes us. End quote. One person commented on social media saying that they have a koi pond, and she observed her fish swimming around in circles for hours. This event happened in early March, and she said that a few days later, the region where she lives was hit by a 4-magnitude earthquake. China is located in an area of the world that is particularly prone to earthquakes due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a region that encircles the Pacific Ocean and is characterized by high levels of seismic activity and volcanic eruptions. China is also situated on the boundary between the Eurasian Plate and the Indian Plate, which are two of the Earth's tectonic plates. The collision of these two plates has created a complex system of fault lines that runs through China, resulting in frequent earthquakes. While earthquakes are common in China, the country has implemented measures to mitigate their impact. This includes seismic monitoring systems, earthquake-resistant building codes, and public education campaigns on earthquake preparedness. Oddly enough, this strange behavior was observed a few months back, when sheep were seen walking around in circles. It was reported that hundreds of sheep had been observed walking in circles for over 12 days. Not long after the first report was made, others came forward and said that sheep were observed doing the same thing across different countries, with reports coming in from the United Kingdom and Mongolia, with local farmers confused as to why the sheep were doing this for such a long period of time, with one farmer saying that it happens every so often, but has never lasted more than an hour. The cause of this strange behavior is still not known. It's known that China is often hit by earthquakes, and at the time it caused some to suggest that perhaps the sheep could feel something happening. The United States Geological Survey said the following. The earliest reference we have to unusual animal behavior prior to a significant earthquake is from Greece in 373 BC. Rats, weasels, snakes, and centipedes reportedly left their homes and headed for safety several days before a destructive earthquake. Anecdotal evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. Most but not all scientists pursuing this mystery are in China or Japan. An earthquake forecast was made in China several decades ago, based on small earthquakes and unusual animal activity. Many people chose to sleep outside of their homes and thus were spared when the main earthquake indeed occurred and caused widespread destruction. However, usually no large earthquake follows this type of seismic activity, and unfortunately, many earthquakes are preceded by no precursory events whatsoever. End quote. It's for this reason that people worry when they see animals acting like this, with residents fearing that a big earthquake could hit the region within the next few days. As mentioned, for centuries there have been accounts of animals acting strange before an earthquake devastates a region. A few years back, scientists came forward and said that they have filmed the behavior of wild animals prior to a quake, and believe this could be documented evidence of animals behaving differently just prior to an earthquake. The researchers were studying birds in Peru and found that days before an earthquake hit, the birds ran for shelter, with the team suggesting that the animals running for cover may be linked to airborne ions. As of right now, scientists and animal experts have said that there's several reasons why animals may walk in circles, saying that some animals, particularly those with poor eyesight, may use circling as a means of navigating. By walking in circles, they may be able to detect changes in their environment, such as the location of food or water sources, and orient themselves more accurately. Certain animals, especially those in captivity or under stress, may exhibit repetitive behaviors, including circling. This behavior may be a result of boredom, anxiety, or a lack of stimulation. In some cases, animals may walk in circles due to neurological disorders, such as vestibular disease. This condition affects the inner ear, which can cause disorientation and loss of balance. Injury. Animals may also walk in circles if they have sustained an injury to their limbs or other parts of their body. This behavior may be an attempt to alleviate pain or discomfort. It's important to note that circling behavior in animals should be investigated and monitored by a veterinarian, as it can sometimes be a symptom of a more serious underlying condition. All across North America are reported sightings of large, hairy humanoids, with those who've allegedly encountered them describing them as being covered in hair from head to toe and commonly encountered within or nearby the untamed woods and landscapes found all across the United States and Canada. Oddly enough, not every state or local area across North America refers to the creature as the same name, and more commonly, local legends will feature similar descriptions of the creature, but with slight variations in its design alongside differing names. Mr. Kramer of Mississippi reported that he captured this photograph in the woods. The photograph appears to show a large humanoid creature standing next to some trees, with the eyewitnesses saying that when he came back to the area and measured the trees, they estimated that this creature is around 8 feet in height. It's interesting to note, though, that this creature does fit the description of other photos that have been captured. One user said the following: "This looks quite convincing to me, as most do look like people in suits, but this one doesn't seem to show that. This doesn't, however, mean that the photo is genuine, and hopefully the owner can have the right people carry out an investigation to get to the bottom of this mystery." Others said that with these older photographs, it's hard to track down where it was taken, and any more information that could help us get to the bottom of what this thing was. Some amateur researchers who've spent years looking into the creature did say, though, this was the first time that they've seen this image, and said that further examination of the photograph should be conducted. For years now, people across the United States have been encountering mysterious creatures, and some of these happen in places like national parks or mountainous areas. It's also not uncommon to hear mysterious sounds in these regions. Although nearly impossible to believe, a series of mass sightings reported back in 1973 within a small American town known as Murfreesboro would lead to the local police department spearheading an official investigation into the existence of a local humanoid creature. The Murfreesboro mud monster is believed to be a large humanoid bipedal ape-like creature similar to modern-day sightings of the North American Bigfoot. Witness descriptions of the creature claim it to have white-colored fur and appearing similar in design to an oversized gorilla with splotches of mud matting its fur. The first sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster were recorded in the summer of 1973 and would be spotted by several dozen independent eyewitnesses up until the modern day, where sightings still continue. The primary location of reported sightings of the Murfreesboro mud monster is along the banks of the Big Muddy River, located near the small town of Murfreesboro. Witness accounts detail that the head of the creature appeared spade-shaped, similar to reports of the Flatwoods monster. The texture of the monster's fur was also described as being similar in likeness to the shaggy fur of an English sheepdog. In several reports describing the Murfreesboro mud monster, the creature was claimed to have glowing red eyes, similar to the brightness of a distant streetlight. In other reports, the creature is claimed to have no visible face, as it appears to have been completely covered in the white fur. On the 26th of June, a young 5-year-old boy by the name of Christian Barrell would claim to witness a monster with a similar description at around 10:30 in the evening. According to the child's mother, he has been given a glass jar that he could use to catch fireflies with. Seeing a large group of fireflies alongside the bank of the Big Muddy River, Christian travelled near the water and saw what he described as a large white shape rise up from behind a fence that separated their property from a neighbour's property. Believing that he saw a ghost, 5-year-old Christian Barrell ran back to his home, dropping the jar, and found his dad, crying to him and telling him what he had seen. Although the dad did not believe that his son had seen anything resembling a ghost, he comforted the child and said that the creature was gone and would not hurt him. Several days later, the father claimed that as he was talking to his neighbour, the neighbour told him about a sighting his family had experienced on the 26th of June of what he believed was a large white ape-like monster walking through his backyard and disappearing into the nearby Big Muddy River. According to the neighbour, his daughter, a young teenager by the name of Cheryl Ray, claimed to have encountered the mysterious creature sometime at around 11 in the evening, and this was while she had been sitting on the enclosed front porch with her boyfriend, Randy Creeth. According to the young couple, while in the middle of a conversation, they claimed to have heard rustling coming from about 15 feet away from where they were sitting. At first, the couple assumed that the rustling was caused by small animals running through the brush, but soon became suspicious when the rustling started to grow louder and continued across multiple bushes. Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth believed that the sound was most likely being caused by a group of young neighborhood kids who were spying on the young couple as a prank. This theory would cause Cheryl Ray to go inside the home to turn on the outside porch light, while Randy Creeth decided to leave the enclosed porch to confront the kids. However, as the front outdoor porch light came on, Randy soon witnessed a massive white-furred creature standing an estimated 10 feet away from where he had been standing, causing him to freeze in fear. Cheryl Ray would later provide the following description of the events. Randy and I were sitting in my parents' breezeway when we heard something in the woods. We both went down, but Randy was walking a little bit ahead. Then he called me over, and there it was. We stood there looking at it. It was really tall and hairy. I think it was white, but it was dirty and matted. It had a real bad odor. It was really rank. I never smelled anything like it. It seemed like an eternity we stood there, and then it just turned around and walked off into the woods. We could hear it trampling through the woods." End quote. Randy Creeth would later draw a silhouette outline of the creature, showing that the monster apparently had a spade-shaped head similar to the Flatwoods monster. He would later provide the following description of the creature. "The thing I remember was the bulk of it, the shape, the human form, and the stench of the river slime it apparently had on it. It was about 8 feet tall, and at least as built as a New York football player. We were within 15 feet of it, close enough to see the body, the texture of the fur, which was long and hairy. It was like an English sheepdog." End quote. Both witnesses would claim that the creature had glowing red eyes that were similar to the glow of a distant streetlight. Its height was estimated to have been around 7 feet tall, with the creature believed to have weighed more than 350 pounds if compared to a human being. Additionally, the creature's arms were believed to have been elongated, similar to a gorilla's arms. After staring at the creature for a total of 30 seconds, the large humanoid beast turned around and appeared to have walked away into the surrounding bushes and disappeared. Shortly thereafter, Cheryl Ray and Randy Creeth would contact the local Murfreesboro Police Department and describe their sighting of the creature. Police officers Jimmy Nash and Ron Manwaring would immediately respond to the call of the creature sighting, believing that the monster was the same creature previously spotted by the Murfreesboro Police Department at around the same time on the previous night. Once the two officers arrived on scene, they quickly noticed what they described was a powerful odor that was unlike anything they had previously encountered. When trying to locate the source of the smell, the officers would stumble across a set of large footprints that were similar to the recovered prints seen near the bank of the Big Muddy River. Believing that the footprints were evidence of the creature, 14 additional officers would be sent to investigate the mysterious creature sighting, including an officer by the name of Jerry Nellis, who had been trained as a dog handler with the Carbondale Police Department. According to the official police report, Jerry Nellis brought along his German Shepherd by the name of Reb. Official Murfreesboro Police Department records describe Reb as one of the most reliable canines on the force, having successfully assisted in past search and rescue missions. As the officers gathered together, the team decided to follow the tracks left behind the creature in the hopes of bringing it down. As the officers followed a set of tracks, they discovered what they later described as a foul-smelling black slime that followed the trail from the back porch of the Ray home down into the nearby Big Muddy River. Using the strange slime as a source of scent, Officer Jerry Nellis's dog Reb began to follow the creature's scent, with the officers following closely behind. The officers recalled in their report that the trail appeared to have been littered with broken tree limbs and trampled underbrush that showed the creature was far larger than any known human being. The trail ended near a quarry of rocks and granite stones, where the dog appeared to have trouble relocating the scent. After a minute or so, however, the dog picked up a new scent that followed a small trail through dense forest and alongside an embankment to the Big Muddy River that led to a small steep-sloped pond. Before long, the dog brought the officers to an abandoned barn located on the old Buller property, which rested north of the Big Muddy River, east of the Ray home. Once the dog reached the door of the barn, however, it began yelping and trembling and was too scared to move any further. Believing that the monster was in the barn, the officers decided to wait to enter the barn before additional backup arrived. It's at this point that the official police record surrounding the incident becomes muddled and inconsistent. Some officers claim that after additional backup arrived from neighboring police departments, totaling about a dozen patrol cars, the monster had broken out of the barn through a back wall and disappeared into the nearby river. Other reports claim that the officers entered the barn and discovered no evidence of the creature, but recovered more samples of the mysterious black slime. Additional reports claim that the officers encountered and neutralized the monster within the barn and had made attempts to cover up the recovery of the creature's body. Regardless of the events, the search for the creature was immediately called off following the searching of the barn, and the officers would return to their patrols and departments. The witness testimony from the officers and future sources of information conflict and often contradict each other when it comes to the recovery of the black slime. In one report, an officer claims that the smell of the slime was so putrid, it was immediately covered with dirt and buried. Another report claims that officers gathered up the black slime as evidence of the events, though no evidence of recovered black slime is found in the modern day. Shortly after this encounter, the police chief of the Murfreesboro Police Department, a man by the name of Toby Berger, would put out warnings to local newspapers and officers, claiming that the encounters or sightings of the creature should be toned down or possibly censored to prevent the development of mass hysteria. As the police chief claimed, he was worried that one of the residents could become trigger-happy and accidentally hurt another resident of their small town. Despite these attempts at censorship, stories of the encounters would spread across the town of Murfreesboro, leading to the formation of small armed groups that would go hunting for the creature. So, what do you all think of this mysterious photograph? And what do you make of the strange expedition led by the Murfreesboro Police Department and a private investigator into the Murfreesboro creature? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comments section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.